Hey, Shane Dahl here again. Today's coaching video, I want to talk to you about why your diet isn't working. This is a subject that I get into quite frequently with personal training clients. I hear all the time when I'm doing consultations, and it's a source of frustration for a lot of people, and I get that. I just want to help to do a little bit of whiteboard work today and help clear up some of these misconceptions about dieting. And when you get into these ruts where it's just not working, you started exercising, you're watching what you eat, and the scale just isn't budging. I want you just to step back, take a deep breath. Hopefully I help to clarify why it's not working and give you some insight on what to do to move forward to get you to start tapping into fat loss again. Okay? I want to start by just prefacing this whole idea. You hear me a lot of times talk about one of my principal foundations for a body transformation is a supportive nutrition diet. I think sometimes this gets misconstrued, though. When I'm speaking of this, people tend to think about it being, I'm talking about eating, supportive nutrition being healthy foods, not eating processed refined foods, eating whole natural foods. That is true. That's certainly a piece of it. But also behind when I'm talking about being supportive, this also is encompassing the idea of supporting the hormonal balances in your body, supporting your metabolism. And this is obviously going to have, our manipulation of calories, both up and down, is going to play a role in that overall balance of whether or not you're going to lose weight. So the supportive element of this means we're going to be manipulating not only the quality of the food, but also the quantity of food. And this is very important because I think, sometimes people get hung up on one side or the other. I got off of eating bad foods, processed, refined garbage, junk foods, and I'm eating healthy now. So I'm doing whole grain breads, and I'm doing, the fresh juices, and I'm doing more healthy foods, but yet they're not losing weight and they're going, what gives? Or they just simply focus on the quantity or the calorie side of this and say, well, I'm only eating 1,000 calories. I'm doing a lean cuisine, and I'm doing this 100-calorie snack pack, but why am I not losing weight? So, there's obviously both sides of these are at play, and we can't just drastically cut calories without any semblance whatsoever of the quality of calories that we're consuming, and we can't just focus on, staying in a caloric restrictive mode or just crashing calories without having any, a semblance of when we need to bump those calories back up. So I'll explain this. The one thing I want to go ahead and just start with is, we talk about this whole idea of caloric restriction. Is it good or bad? And, you'll hear people get in debates all the time about, diets don't work, you can't diet. They're always going to be destined to fail. Well, it's partly true, but it's also partly not. You have to have caloric restriction at some point in time, or else you're not going to have a reason for your body to tap into stored fat. You got to remember, fat is just stored energy. And if you're going to tap into it, you have to have some sort of restriction from your incoming calories to do so. The problem is, by nature, it's not bad. It's good. There's a lot of good things that can come from a short-term caloric restriction. I actually kind of just gave away the secret there. What you have to do to make this work is it has to be done in short windows of time. This is where people get it mixed up. And when you get on a diet and you start off on it and you do pretty good with it, and all of a sudden it levels out and you end up, the wheels fall off and you crash and you go, put all the weight back on. You try doing it for too long. You can't stay in a caloric restrictive state for very long. The longer that you go, the more your body's going to fight against you with strong chemical, I'll talk about strong chemical and hormonal signals. They're going to drive you off of that. So everything lies in having restriction in short windows of time. We're going to pull calories down, and then we're going to put them back in. So it's sort of like this whole idea of eat, restrict or slow down or stop, and then eat again. It's back and forth. This is how your body is designed to function. This is how our hunter and gatherer ancestors, this is how we have evolved. It wasn't this whole idea of always having 5 to 6, small meals a day, and you had to have, these certain types of foods at every meal and its combinations. No, it's never been like that. So anyways, caloric restriction, yes, it is good. We need it. But the idea is we need to be doing this in hours and days, not weeks and months. Big difference there when you start looking at a typical diet and why the diets don't work, okay? If you would function in a restriction or work on a diet in a matter of doing it for hours and days, short windows of time, it will work, okay? But we have to have a an opposing side of this where we refeed and boost the metabolism back up. All right, so here's what happens. We start talking about, why is your diet not working? Why have you, come to this plateau? You've got several chemical and hormonal players in the game when you start restricting calories, when you go, quote unquote, on a diet, that are working here to, in essence, drive your hunger up and, drive your metabolism down. The main player, I'll try not to get too technical in this, but I want to make sure you understand this, is the hypothalamus. And this is really the driver of your hunger and of your metabolism. We actually have, I want you just to think of this as, within the hypothalamus, we have two opposing sides. They're working against each other. It's sort of a give and take, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. But these two sides, the one side being, I won't get into the the whole acronym, but CART, and then the other side, NPY, neuropeptide Y. Without confusion, you just know we got these two sides. CART is a side. These chemical messengers increase metabolism and reduces appetite. Just so you know, the C actually stands for cocaine and the A for amphetamines, because those drugs actually drive these chemicals through the roof. The neuropeptide Y, this side actually decreases metabolism and increases appetite. So we have this tug of war going on within your hypothalamus, which is regulated by if you're dieting, if you're pulling down calories, what types of foods that you're eating. These all have a factor in what's going to happen with your overall metabolism. All right, so let me just jump over here real quick on this other side, briefly explain. We talk about, because these hormones all play a role in your overall rate of metabolism. Cortisol, testosterone, growth hormone, insulin, IGF-1, leptin, ghrelin, and thyroid. I'll try to make this short, but really just so you understand, when you restrict down calories, when you get into a quote-unquote diet mode, we talk about that's the self-preservation, where your body starts to down-regulate your metabolism. What happens? Well, what happens is that cortisol levels rise because your body perceives that as a stress. It's a physiological stressor. So obviously, as you know, cortisol is a stress hormone. Cortisol levels go up, okay? Testosterone, growth hormone, these are anabolic type hormones. These levels go down. So this is not a good thing. Insulin, IGF-1, these actually also go down. This is a short term, this is a good thing. It's going to help to improve insulin sensitivity. So this isn't necessarily bad. Leptin levels, this is a protein that's actually secreted by fat that helps send a signal to the hypothalamus, to your brain to say you are full. It's a good thing. So normally when we're having a supportive nutrition diet, we're having healthy fats and we're eating regularly, leptin helps to signal to your body that you're full. When you go onto a restrictive diet, those levels fall down. Those levels deplete. Sometimes they can stay elevated with people who are obese or severely overweight, but they have a problem. There is a conversion problem. There's a resistance problem to that. So even though it's present in their bloodstream, it's actually not getting to the cell receptors, so that's not working. Ghrelin, on the other hand, this is the hormone that triggers the CART side of your hypothalamus, and this is what triggers your hunger. Not surprisingly, when you go on a diet, the ghrelin levels go up. That's why you're constantly hungry on a diet. Okay, this is hormonal. This is powerful chemical stuff. So you can't fight the biology of your body. Just know that all this stuff is happening. Thyroid, what happens when you're in this constant restrictive state? In essence, your hypothalamus sends a message to your thyroid that says decrease production of T3, slow things down. Why does it do that? Well, if it didn't do that, in essence, your body temperature would stay elevated. If it didn't lower it down, you would start to burn your own lean tissue. So it's purely self-preservation. So you've got all these things working against you when you're dieting. So, how do I reverse that? You got to break the diet. So what you want to do is when you go into this restrictive phase and all this stuff is happening, how do I come back out of that? Refeed. That's what the first thing I'm going to tell people, look, if you're stuck, you're in a plateau, take a day, take 24, 48 hours, refeed. This isn't a junk food binge. This is talking about bringing back in, 500 more calories, 500 to whatever, 1,000 more calories, but do it from healthy, do it from some whole grains, do it from some, healthy starch carbohydrates, sweet potatoes or some brown rice or couscous, whatever. But put that back in, put the energy back in. Why? Because it'll drive these levels back up. It's a balancing act with your hormones and the chemical messengers with your hypothalamus, and we use food to manipulate that. So hope that makes sense. If you're going to pull out, you're going to have to put it back in. So you might go on a 3 or 4 day restrictive phase, but then on that 5th day, refeed. Eat every couple hours, but increase your calories. Okay, don't be afraid to do it. You're not going to store fat in that short window of time. You need to do that. Your body's going to replenish glycogen stores in your liver and your muscle cells. It's not going to start storing fat right away. So just know you have to have a refeed if we're going to diet. Okay. Finally, here, this whole element of, I sort of talked about this. The quality of foods matter. Absolutely matter. I get into some discussions with this every now and then with some people who would argue against this. I would strongly argue for it. I believe that the quality of foods do matter. Obviously, I'm on record of being more of a proponent of a primal blueprint or a natural food type diet. The reason why is that when you have natural whole foods, it sends the right signals to your hypothalamus. It sends the right chemical messages that say, okay, we are full. It allows leptin to do its job. It gives you the right messages that help you to control your appetite and to keep your metabolism where it needs to be. On the contrary, when you're having processed and refined foods, so things that would have high fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated fats, aspartame, all these artificial ingredients, the key thing to understand is they block those signals. They screw up your internal signals. So you, in essence, continue to stay hungry. Your appetite doesn't get shut off. We're not sending that message to your hypothalamus to say, hey, we are full. That's why you can sit down and have a whole bag of chips, for example, and you can crush it, and it was whatever, 1,500 calories or 1,200 calories, and you're still hungry. It's because of you're not getting the right chemical messages to the hypothalamus. So we're screwing it up internally. So definitely the quality of the foods do matter. So there it is. You get into a diet phase and you're stuck and you're leveled out in the plateau. Just know that while we need some restriction, and it is a beneficial thing, we also need the refeed. We need to be able to put energy back in and increase that to boost metabolism. Because if not, you're just going to stay stuck. You're going to continue to downregulate, start to lose lean muscle tissue, and it's just going to get harder and harder for you. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, always feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, thanks a lot.